everyone, and today I will be doing an introduction into the Lightning type in the Gym Leader Challenge format. So a quick rundown of what Gym Leader Challenge is, or GLC for short. The main difference from standard are these decklist restrictions, including you can only have one type of Pokemon per deck. You can only play one of each card with the same name in your deck, excluding basic energy. Cards printed from black and white onward are legal, so it's a very wide card pool. And then no rule box cards or ace spec cards, like Radiant Pokemon, Prism Star Pokemon, and then multi prize Pokemon like Pokemon EX or V Star. And then I'll leave the ban list in the description below. Lightning has quite a bit of support Pokemon. It's got these Dynamotor abilities, which once during your turn you can attach a lightning energy from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. They both have like the same exact stats: 90 HP, 2 retreat, uh, 3 energy, 50 damage, and it's just pretty good that lightning has two of them because in Gym Leader Challenge you can only play one of each card with the same name, and because they have different names, you can play both of them, so you can have less issues to deal with in terms of prizing. Um, Surging Spark's Magneton with the Overvolt Discharge ability, where you can knock it out and attach up to 3 basic energy from your discard pile to your Pokemon in any way you like. It's pretty good for setting attackers up, and it can put you behind on prizes, so you can play something like Counter Catcher or Reversal Energy to just keep yourself going. Magnezone with the Magnetic Circuit. Lightning has its own version of Rain Dance. Attach as many lightning energy from your hand as you want to your Pokemon. It's pretty solid, especially with some of the attackers on the next slide. Bazap Generator Electrode. You can knock it out and search your deck for up to 2 lightning energy and attach them to your lightning Pokemon in any way you like, and then shuffle your deck. So this is the second. Magnetone makes the second knockout energy acceleration for lightning. So you can do some pretty crazy things with Counter Catcher and special energy that provides more when you're behind on prizes. Lightning's got some pretty solid draw. Electrode lets you draw until you have 4 cards in your hand with magnetic draw. And then Zebstrika with Sprint lets you discard your hand and draw 4. So Zebstrika will more consistently get you a guaranteed fresh hand of 4, but you will have to discard your hand, so it can be detrimental in certain decks that want to keep cards in their hand. Morpeko, also pretty good support Pokemon with the Snack Seek ability, which once during your turn you can look at the top card of your deck and you can discard it. This is good because you can look at the top card. If it's something you want for next turn, you can leave it there and draw into it next turn. Or if it's, for example, a Lightning Energy, you can discard it and then attach it with one of your Dynamotor Pokemon. This Luxio with the Disconnect attack, which prevents your opponent from playing any item cards during their next turn. It's really, really good because there is a Shinx in the format with Adaptive Evolution, which means it can evolve on your first turn. So you can evolve into the Luxio and use Disconnect on your first turn going second, and really make your opponent work towards, or force your opponent to figure out new lines of play that they may not have been considering. In terms of control, Lightning's got quite a bit of power. These Lantern with the Salvage attack lets you shuffle 4 item cards from your discard pile into your deck, which is really, really good, as it just lets you recycle everything that you could need. And it pairs nicely with Evo Shock Raichu, where when you evolve it during your turn, you can make your opponent's active Pokemon paralyzed. So if you can keep looping the Raichu with item cards like Scoop Up Net or Devolution Spray, you can keep forcing your opponent to find switch cards, and then you can use the Lantern's Salvage attack to get these switch cards back. This Magnezone's a really, really cool card with just the Dual Brains ability, which lets you play 2 supporters instead of 1 during your turn. Opens up a lot of versatility, a lot of new lines, because you're breaking the 1 supporter rule. This Magneton with the Call Signal lets you knock it out and search your deck for up to 3 supporters. This pairs really nicely with Lieutenant Surge, which I'll talk about later, but that can open up some pretty wild combos. Rotom with the Junk Hunt ability, just put an item card from your discard pile into your hand. So it's not as strong as the Salvage attack on the Lantern, but it does go directly back into your hand, so you don't have to try and search out for it. This Joltik with the Jolting Charge lets you accelerate up to 2 basic Grass Energy and 2 basic Lightning Energy, which for a basic Pokemon 1 energy attack cost, this can get 4 energy into play. So if you're playing Pokemon with colorless energy costs, you can really get a pretty solid board quickly. And then this Ampharos, I've been trying to build some decks with it. It's a really cool card in theory with the Unseen Flash ability, where once during your turn you can put 2 lightning energy cards from your hand into the Lost Zone, and if you do, then your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. So you can consistently keep your opponent's active paralyzed, and then you can even use its Split Bomb attack to do 50 damage to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. So you can go around their active Pokemon and try to keep it trapped. The problem is you will eventually run out of lightning energy cards, so it's not the greatest, but it's pretty cool to build around, especially if you just want to throw it in your deck because you already have the Flaffy. In terms of attackers, lightning got some new cards with got a new card with Surging Sparks that I think is really good in Tapu Koko. The Summon Lightning attack just lets you search your deck for up to 2 lightning Pokemon and put them into your hand, which is pretty solid because it just lets you establish a better board state for the next turn. And then its prize count attack for 2 lightning and a colorless does 90 plus 90 if your opponent has more prize cards. If you have more prize cards than your opponent. So if you're losing, it does 180 for 3. And that's pretty crazy with all of the self KOing lightning energy accelerations. This Zeraora is really good with the Rain Dance Magnezone. The discharge attack for a lightning and 2 colorless does 50 damage, and then you discard all lightning from it, and then it does 50 damage for each energy card you discarded in this way. So you can do 150 if you're just paying for the attack cost, but that scales however much you need to do. This Luxray with the Swelling Flash, if you have more prize cards remaining than your opponent does, you can put it onto your bench for free. And then Wild Charge does 180 damage for a lightning and 2 colorless, and then it does 20 damage back to itself. Pretty solid attacker. Again, lightning has a bunch of ways to KO its own Pokemon, so you can put yourself behind on purpose. This Electivire with the Electrified Bolt attack for 2 lightning and a colorless, it does 90 damage, and then if the Electivire has any special energy attached, it does 90 more damage. So you can just do a straight 180 with something like Reversal Energy, and you can keep that online for longer, again, with all of the self KOing support Pokemon that Lightning has access to. This Thunderous does 140 damage for 2 energy, and then it does 90 damage to itself. So it will leave itself on the brink of death, but it can kind of go up and just 2 energy blow up whatever is in your opponent's active. This Zapdos with the Thunderous Assault is really good at winning on your first turn going second, because for just 1 lightning, it does 80 damage if you move it from the bench to the active spot. And it's not affected by weakness, but if your opponent starts with like a 60 or 70 HP basic Pokemon, you can just win. This Regieleki, it's got the Electromagnetic Sonar attack. For 1 colorless, you put a trainer card from your discard pile into your hand. This can help you recycle some of your resources, but it's also got the Targeted Bolt attack, which if you discard 2 lightning from it, you do 120 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So it can snipe and it can help you recover some resources. This Raichu with the Electrical Grounding ability, when one of your Pokemon is knocked out by damage from an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, you may move a lightning energy from that Pokemon to this Pokemon. So it can kind of conserve some lightning energy in play and then go into your active and hit 180 damage for 2 lightning and a colorless. It does damage itself, so you will be losing the energy eventually, but just being able to keep the energy in play and have it go on to a secondary attacker is pretty good. This Tapu Koko with the Flying Flip attack For 2 colorless, it does 20 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. So this is really solid, especially because the Tapu Koko has free retreat. So it's a pivot and it can do some crazy spread damage. This Alolan Raichu can really take advantage of the um, Magnezone that I mentioned earlier, because you discard all the electric energy attached to it, and then for each energy you discard, you do 30 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon, and you can kind of just destroy your opponent's board, take out all of their support Pokemon or take out all of their attacking Pokemon, and kind of see if they can do anything about it. There's this other Raichu with Collateral Bolts, which does 50 damage to each Pokemon that has any damage counters on it. So this pairs nicely with like the Tapu Koko with the Flying Flip. Just put damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon, and then Collateral Bolts put more damage on them. Electros with the Suction Shock. You switch in one of your opponent's bench Pokemon, and it does 60 damage. And then you flip a coin, and if heads, the new active Pokemon is now paralyzed. So if you're playing the Electric that has the Dynamotor ability, you can just throw the Electros in your list, and if they try to stick up your Electric, you can evolve and start using Suction Shock to hopefully trap them in return. So you can buy yourself some time to get your Electros out of the active. This other Electros with the Electric Swamp, where you can use the ability if you have 4 lightning energy in play, you can put the Electros onto your bench and move any number of lightning energy from your other Pokemon to the Electros. And it's hover over attack. It's not too crazy, but you can kind of put it down for free and move all your energy to it and charge it up immediately and then go in with it. This Electivire with the high voltage current, for 2 lightning and a colorless, does 50 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. This goes kind of crazy with the Collateral Bolts Raichu, because you go in with the Electivire and then you go in with the Raichu and you just did 100 damage to your opponent's entire board. And then you can come in with something like the Terra Spark Regieleki, which for 2 lightning and a colorless, you discard all lightning energy from it, and it does 120 to their active and 40 damage to 2 of their benched Pokemon. So you can really dismantle their board after you've gone in with Electivire and Raichu. And then this Morpeko, Torment is pretty nice for 1 energy, does 20 damage. And then you get to choose one of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks, and they can't use it next turn. So this can buy yourself some time. Lightning doesn't have too many specific trainers. Electric Generator is pretty good in standard format with Miraidon. But even in Gym Leader Challenge, you can stack your deck and try to turbo some energy out with it. Electropower is like really crazy, especially paired with something like the Zapdos, where if your opponent starts something higher than 80 HP, you can dig for the Electropower and use it to take a KO and just win the game. Lightning's also got access to Volkner, which lets you search through your deck for an item card and a lightning energy card and put them into your hand. So this can get you like a Buddy Buddy Poffin and a Speed Lightning Energy, which lets you draw some more cards, or just a basic lightning energy to keep yourself going. I think it's a pretty solid card. Stormy Mountains is really good because you can get either a basic lightning Pokemon or a basic dragon Pokemon. And then Rough Seas, if you ever try to play tanky lightning or you're playing against spread and you don't want to lose to the spread player, you can kind of just throw this in here and heal 30 damage from each of your water and lightning Pokemon. So in terms of deck lists, Lightning Spread is a really, really solid deck, using the Raichu and the Electivire to just throw damage all over the board, and then cleaning up with the Terra Spark Regieleki. It's really easy to take out threats. Not too many types have a bench protection Pokemon, and a lot of them are basics. So Silent Lab will immediately shut all of those down because it turns off all basic Pokemon's abilities. So you can kind of go Electivire, or you can go Tapu Koko, 20 damage everywhere. Electivire, 50 damage everywhere, so you're up to 70. And then go in with Raichu, and you've done 120 damage to your opponent's entire board. If anything's still standing, you can clean up with either another Tapu Koko or Regieleki, and just take massive multi-price turns. This is Lightning Zone with focusing around the Magnetic Circuit Magnezone, um, and the Alolan Raichu with that Electro Rain. And then you just play other attackers like the Tapu Koko, Prize Count. Really good to just throw 3 energy on there. And if you're losing, you just do 180 damage. Zero Aura, pretty good, just absolutely destroying whatever your opponent has in their active. And Terra Spark Regieleki is just a really, really good card. So you can just slap it in here, toss 3 energy on it with Magnezone, and use the attack. You will see most Lightning lists playing at least one Dynamotor, just because they're so good. A lot of them will be playing 2, but I think almost all of them are going to be playing minimum 1. Speaking of a list that's not playing Dynamotor, we have Shocklock, which just focuses on reusing that Evo Shock Raichu and just trapping your opponent, leaving them with either nothing to do or decking them out. And you can use the call signal to go get Lieutenant Surge, and Lieutenant Surge reads if you have more prize cards remaining than your opponent, you can play 2 more supporters during your turn. So you can go Boss's Orders or Guzma and then play like a mill supporter or Airy to disrupt your opponent's hand. So you can pull off some really crazy combos with Call Signal, and then the deck's just all about recycling its resources. Finally, Magnezone Control. I'm not too knowledgeable on this deck, so I will be leaving an article about it if you want to learn more. I have heard that this deck is pretty insane, and I actually talked to the creator, um, and he really recommends playing the deck. It's a ton of fun. I will again link the article in the description. But it's kind of the same engine with the Call Signal Magneton for Lieutenant Surge. Use Surge to play 2 other supporters, and then kind of lock your opponent up from there. Yeah, thanks for watching. Links in the description. I'll leave all the deck lists. I'll leave the official Gym Leader Challenge website and the ban list, and then the Cardboard Warriors website, which is a really great place to go to see other deck lists and even make your own. Thanks for watching. Uh, like and subscribe if you want to support me.